over 60, or perhaps you're in your 50s and already noticing that your body doesn't quite respond the way it used to. Maybe climbing stairs feels harder, your legs fatigue faster, or carrying grocery bags leaves you more winded than before. If so, you're not alone. What you're experiencing could be the earliest signs of a silent but devastating condition called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength as we age. It is far more common than most people realize, and it doesn't just appear suddenly in your 70s or 80s. The process can begin quietly in your 40s and accelerate with each passing decade. The tragedy is that most people dismiss the early signs as just getting older. But the truth, it's not simply aging, it's preventable muscle decline. Now here's where today's video will shake up what you've heard before. For years, bone broth has been promoted as a miracle elixir. Bloggers, wellness influencers, and even some doctors call it the ultimate food for joints, recovery, and vitality. But I've spent decades in research, reading thousands of studies, treating countless older patients, and let me tell you, bone broth is not the solution. It might soothe, it might comfort, but when it comes to truly building muscle and preventing sarcopenia, it falls short. Instead, there is one humble food, affordable, accessible, and scientifically proven, that outperforms bone broth by a mile. This food doesn't just support muscles, it helps rebuild them, it directly combats sarcopenia, and it has been with us for thousands of years, right on our breakfast plates. That food is the egg. But before you roll your eyes and say, "Eggs? Really?" Stay with me, because in this video, I'm going to reveal not only why eggs are a superior weapon against sarcopenia, but also how hydration, electrolytes, and anti-inflammatory foods work together to preserve your strength, independence, and longevity. And to make this real, I'll share stories of patients I've treated and lessons you can apply today, so you won't just survive aging, you'll thrive through it. So grab a seat, because over the next hour, we're going to dive deep. Forget the hype. Forget the fads. If you care about living strong after 60, this may be the most important health message you hear all year. Sarcopenia, the silent muscle thief. Let's begin with the foundation. What exactly is sarcopenia? The word itself sounds intimidating, borrowed from Greek roots, sarx meaning flesh and penia meaning loss. Simply put, sarcopenia is the progressive decline of muscle mass and strength that occurs with aging. But don't let that simple definition fool you. Its impact on health is enormous. Think about it. Muscles are not just for lifting weights in the gym. They are the machinery that allows you to stand, walk, climb stairs, rise from a chair, carry groceries, and even breathe efficiently. When muscles shrink, every one of these tasks becomes harder. And when enough muscle is lost, independence itself begins to slip away. The scary part: sarcopenia doesn't wait until old age. Studies show that muscle mass starts declining in the early 40s, and strength declines even faster than size. By the time someone reaches 70, they may have lost up to 30–40% of their muscle strength compared to their youth. That's not just aging, that's a health crisis. I remember one of my patients, Mr. Harris, a 62-year-old retired teacher. He came to me complaining not of pain, but of fatigue. "Doctor, I just feel weak," he said. He had always been slim but active, yet now he struggled to get out of his recliner without pushing hard on the armrests. Tests revealed significant muscle loss. This wasn't laziness. This wasn't just getting older. It was sarcopenia stealing his independence. Sarcopenia doesn't only affect muscles. Because muscles anchor your bones and stabilize your joints, losing them sets off a cascade of other risks: osteoporosis, falls, fractures, slower healing, and even diabetes. Why diabetes? Because skeletal muscle is the largest site for glucose disposal. When muscles shrink, blood sugar rises. Even brain health is tied to muscle. Research links sarcopenia to higher rates of dementia and depression. Why? Because reduced muscle means reduced mobility, less blood flow, and lower production of myokines, powerful chemical messengers that muscles release to support brain function. Let's not sugarcoat it. Sarcopenia is one of the leading causes of frailty in older adults. Frailty is that state where a person becomes too weak to resist illness, too unstable to prevent falls, too tired to engage with life. And once frailty sets in, the spiral is hard to reverse. The tragedy is that most people never hear the word sarcopenia until it's too late. They think of heart disease, they think of cancer, but rarely do they realize that quiet, invisible muscle loss is robbing them of years of independence. But here's the good news. Sarcopenia is not destiny. Unlike some aspects of aging, it can be slowed, prevented, and in many cases reversed. And the tools are not exotic drugs or expensive supplements. They are right in front of us, starting with something as simple as the foods we choose. That's why this video matters. Because once you understand sarcopenia, how it starts, how it progresses, and how to fight back, you can change the trajectory of your aging. Instead of decline, you can build strength. Instead of fragility, you can have resilience. Bone broth vs. eggs, the scientific showdown. Now that we understand what sarcopenia is and why it's so dangerous, let's tackle a myth that has dominated wellness circles for years: the bone broth craze. Bone broth has been marketed as a miracle food, said to rebuild joints, strengthen bones, improve skin, and yes, even build muscle. Influencers rave about sipping warm mugs of broth as though it's liquid gold. But as a physician who has spent decades studying nutrition and muscle physiology, I must tell you, bone broth is highly overrated. Why? Because bone broth's primary protein is collagen. And while collagen is excellent for skin elasticity and connective tissue support, it is incomplete when it comes to building actual muscle tissue. Collagen lacks several essential amino acids, including enough leucine, the amino acid trigger for muscle protein synthesis. Think of collagen like bricks without mortar. They might add structure, but they don't provide the spark needed for muscle growth. That's why people who rely solely on collagen-rich bone broth rarely see improvements in muscle strength or mass. Now let's contrast this with eggs, one of nature's most complete muscle-building foods. Eggs contain all 9 essential amino acids in the perfect ratio your body needs. Most importantly, they are rich in leucine, the key that flips on your muscle-building machinery. In fact, nutrition scientists use eggs as the gold standard to measure the quality of protein in other foods. Why? Because not only do eggs provide a complete amino acid profile, but they're also highly bioavailable. That means your body absorbs and uses egg protein more efficiently than almost any other protein source. To put it simply, if bone broth is a flickering candle, eggs are a powerful spotlight. One offers comfort, the other fuels growth. Let me share a real case. A 68-year-old woman I treated, Mrs. Lopez, had been faithfully drinking bone broth every morning for 3 years because she believed it was keeping her strong. Yet she kept losing muscle, needing a cane to walk. When we changed her breakfast to include 2 eggs with vegetables and some resistance exercises, within 6 months her muscle mass and walking speed improved dramatically. Bone broth hadn't failed her completely, it provided comfort. But it was eggs that gave her muscles the building blocks they were starving for. This doesn't mean bone broth is bad. It has its place: warm, soothing, hydrating, supportive of joint health. But if your goal is fighting sarcopenia, then bone broth is a weak ally compared to the powerhouse that is the egg. And here's something fascinating. For decades, eggs were unfairly demonized because of cholesterol fears. Many older adults still avoid egg yolks, thinking they will clog arteries. But modern research has debunked this myth. Whole eggs, when eaten in moderation, do not increase heart disease risk. In fact, the yolk is where most of the critical nutrients are found: vitamin D, choline, omega-3s, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect not just muscles but also the brain and eyes. So the verdict is clear. Bone broth may soothe your soul, but eggs will save your muscles. If you want to keep walking strong into your 70s, 80s, and beyond, don't just sip broth. Crack an egg, cook it, and let your muscles thrive. Leucine, anabolic resistance, and why eggs win. By now, you understand that eggs contain complete protein, superior to collagen in bone broth. But let's dig even deeper into the science. What makes eggs such a powerful anti-sarcopenia weapon comes down to one amino acid, leucine. Leucine is one of the 9 essential amino acids, meaning your body cannot produce it, you must get it from food. But leucine is special. It doesn't just build muscle as one of many ingredients. It acts like a biological switch. When enough leucine enters your bloodstream, it flips on a pathway in your muscle cells called mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin. This is the central engine that drives muscle protein synthesis. Think of it this way. Protein is the raw material, but leucine is the ignition key. Without leucine, your body may have bricks but no spark to start construction. With leucine, the building project begins. Here's the challenge. As we age, our muscles become less responsive to protein. This is called anabolic resistance. In your 20s, a modest amount of protein at breakfast would trigger robust muscle growth. In your 60s, the same amount barely wakes up your muscle-building machinery. It's as if the volume knob on your muscles has been turned down. To get the same growth response, you need higher quality protein, protein rich in leucine. And here is where eggs shine. A single large egg contains about 0.5 grams of leucine. Eating 2 or 3 eggs at a meal provides enough leucine to surpass the threshold required to trigger mTOR and kickstart muscle protein synthesis. Compare that to bone broth. A cup of broth provides only trace amounts of leucine, nowhere near enough to overcome anabolic resistance. That's why sipping broth may warm your stomach, but it won't protect your muscles. I recall a patient, Mr. Thompson, 74 years old. He had been losing muscle despite eating plenty of protein, or so he thought. His meals included oatmeal, toast, and sometimes chicken broth. But when we analyzed his diet, he wasn't getting nearly enough leucine. We added 3 eggs to his breakfast omelet and advised light resistance training. Within months, his hand grip strength improved, and he regained the ability to walk a mile without resting. This is why leucine matters. It is not about eating endless grams of protein. It's about eating the right kind of protein. Eggs, dairy, and lean meats are all rich in leucine. But eggs are unique because they combine high leucine density with affordability, convenience, and additional nutrients like vitamin D and choline. So, when it comes to beating anabolic resistance, bone broth doesn't stand a chance. Eggs don't just provide protein. They deliver the exact molecular signal your aging muscles need to grow stronger again. Hydration and electrolytes fuel for your muscles. Up to this point, we've discussed protein, amino acids, and why eggs are superior to bone broth for building muscle. But here's something most people overlook. Muscles are not made of protein alone. They are about 75% water. That means every contraction, from lifting a dumbbell to standing up from a chair, depends on water inside your muscle cells. Without proper hydration, the machinery of strength grinds to a halt. But it's not just plain water that matters. Water must work hand in hand with electrolytes, minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium that carry electrical charges. These charges are the sparks that allow your muscles to contract and relax. Imagine your muscles as an orchestra. Water is the stage, but electrolytes are the musicians. Without them, there is no music. Here's how it works. When your brain tells a muscle to contract, sodium flows into the muscle cell while potassium flows out. Calcium floods in to trigger contraction, and magnesium helps the muscle relax afterward. If any of these minerals are missing or imbalanced, the signal misfires, leading to cramps, weakness, or even falls. This is why dehydration is so dangerous for older adults. Even a 1–2% drop in hydration can reduce muscle strength and coordination. Over time, chronic dehydration accelerates sarcopenia. I remember Mrs. Carter, 70, who came to me with constant fatigue and frequent leg cramps. She believed she was just getting old. But after checking her labs, we found she was chronically dehydrated and low in magnesium and potassium. Once we improved her hydration and added more leafy greens, nuts, and a pinch of salt to her diet, her cramps vanished and her energy returned. What this teaches us is simple. Hydration and electrolytes are the silent partners of muscle health. You can eat all the protein you want, but if your muscle cells are dehydrated, they cannot use that protein effectively. So, how do we put this into practice? For older adults, the goal is not to chug liters of plain water at once, but to drink consistently throughout the day and to include foods naturally rich in electrolytes. Bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes for potassium, leafy greens and nuts for magnesium, dairy for calcium. And yes, even a little salt for sodium. Balance is the key. Athletes know this well, which is why they use electrolyte drinks after sweating. But seniors often ignore it, partly because their thirst mechanism weakens with age. That's why intentional hydration becomes essential after 60. So remember, protein builds the bricks, leucine lights the spark, but hydration and electrolytes are the scaffolding that holds it all together. Without them, your muscle-building plan is incomplete. Anti-inflammatory foods cooling the fire. We've talked about protein, leucine, hydration, and electrolytes. But there's another silent force that either protects or destroys your muscles: inflammation. Inflammation is not always bad. In fact, when you exercise, your muscles develop tiny micro-tears. Inflammation rushes in, triggering repair and growth. This is normal. The problem comes when inflammation becomes chronic, smoldering day after day like a low fire that never goes out. Chronic inflammation steals resources from your muscles, slows recovery, accelerates breakdown, and makes sarcopenia worse. Think of trying to build a house while a fire burns in the background. No matter how many workers you hire, progress is painfully slow. So how do we fight this? With anti-inflammatory foods. Let me walk you through some of the most powerful options. 1. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids, these act like firefighters that calm the flames. Studies show omega-3s improve muscle protein synthesis and reduce muscle loss in older adults. 2. Berries, blueberries, strawberries. Packed with antioxidants, berries neutralize free radicals that cause oxidative stress after workouts. They speed up recovery and protect muscle cells. 3. Leafy greens, spinach, kale. Provide magnesium and vitamin K, reducing inflammation while supporting both muscles and bones. 4. Turmeric with black pepper. Curcumin in turmeric blocks inflammatory pathways. Black pepper boosts absorption. This golden spice is nature's anti-inflammatory medicine. 5. Nuts and seeds, walnuts, chia, flax. These tiny packages deliver omega-3s, magnesium, and antioxidants. They lower inflammation and keep muscles fueled. 6. Olive oil extra virgin. Contains polyphenols that act like natural ibuprofen. Key part of the Mediterranean diet linked to strength and longevity. 7. Legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas. High in fiber and phytonutrients that support gut health, indirectly reducing systemic inflammation. I recall Mr. Nguyen, 66, who suffered constant stiffness and soreness. He feared he had arthritis, yet his blood tests revealed chronic inflammation. We shifted his diet toward salmon twice a week, daily berries, and turmeric tea. Within months, his joint pain eased, his walking improved, and his muscle strength returned. The takeaway: anti-inflammatory foods are not optional. They are your daily shield against the invisible fire that accelerates aging. Without them, your muscle-building efforts are fighting uphill. With them, your recovery and strength flourish. Lifestyle and resistance training, building muscles for life. We've covered protein, leucine, hydration, electrolytes, and anti-inflammatory foods. But let me make something crystal clear. Nutrition alone is not enough. To fight sarcopenia, you must challenge your muscles. Muscles follow the use it or lose it law. If you don't give them a reason to stay, they shrink. That reason comes in the form of resistance training, exercises that push your muscles to contract against a force. Resistance training does not mean you need to bench press 200 pounds. It can be as simple as bodyweight squats, resistance bands, dumbbells, or even heavy grocery bags. What matters is progressive overload, gradually increasing the challenge so muscles adapt and grow stronger. I recall Mrs. Brown, 72, who told me she was too old to lift weights. She feared injury, but we started with chair stands and light resistance bands. Slowly, she progressed to small dumbbells. Within months, her balance improved, her legs grew stronger, and she no longer needed assistance to climb stairs. Science confirms this. Even people in their 80s and 90s can build new muscle through resistance training. The body never completely loses the ability to respond. It just needs the right stimulus. Along with strength training, lifestyle choices play a huge role. Sleep is critical. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone that supports muscle repair. Without quality sleep, sarcopenia accelerates. Stress management is also essential. Chronic stress raises cortisol, a hormone that breaks down muscle. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, or even walking in nature can lower cortisol and protect muscle tissue. Let's not forget daily activity. Resistance training 2 or 3 times per week is powerful, but what you do every day matters too. Taking the stairs, gardening, carrying groceries, all these micro-exercises accumulate into stronger, more resilient muscles. The formula is clear: high-quality protein, eggs, hydration and electrolytes, anti-inflammatory foods, resistance training, good sleep and stress control. Together, they form a shield against sarcopenia. Aging doesn't have to mean decline. With the right lifestyle, it can mean growing stronger, wiser, and more capable. We've journeyed together through the science of muscle health, from protein and leucine to hydration, electrolytes, and anti-inflammatory foods, all the way to resistance training and lifestyle choices. But before we close, let me ground this in real stories of people whose lives were changed by these principles. Story 1: The teacher who regained independence. I mentioned Mr. Harris earlier, the retired teacher who struggled to rise from his chair. By introducing eggs into his diet, adding simple strength exercises, and paying attention to hydration, he regained his ability to climb stairs without assistance. His smile when he walked into my office unaided for the first time is something I'll never forget. Story 2: The grandmother who danced again. Mrs. Lopez, once dependent on a cane despite her daily bone broth, transformed when she embraced eggs, omega-3 rich fish, and light dumbbell workouts. At her granddaughter's wedding, she danced not for long but long enough to feel alive again. Story 3: The veteran who beat fatigue. Mr. Thompson, the 74-year-old veteran, thought weakness was just old age. But once we boosted his leucine intake with eggs and taught him how to hydrate with electrolytes, his energy returned. He now volunteers at a local community garden, lifting bags of soil with pride. These stories prove one thing: sarcopenia is not inevitable. It is not a death sentence for your independence. With the right tools, you can fight back. Let's distill this entire message into a few key lessons. Lesson 1: Forget the hype. Bone broth may soothe, but it cannot protect your muscles. Lesson 2: Prioritize eggs rich in leucine, complete protein, and vital nutrients. They are nature's gift against sarcopenia. Lesson 3: Hydration and electrolytes are non-negotiable. They turn protein into usable muscle fuel. Lesson 4: Anti-inflammatory foods cool the silent fire that burns muscle tissue. Fill your plate with fish, berries, greens, nuts, and olive oil. Lesson 5: Resistance training is medicine. No pill will ever replace the benefits of lifting, pushing, and pulling. Lesson 6: Lifestyle matters. Sleep, stress management, and daily movement are the glue that holds it all together. My final message to you is this: muscle is not vanity. Muscle is life. Protect it as fiercely as you protect your heart or brain. Because without muscle, independence is gone. But with muscle, aging becomes a journey of strength, vitality, and dignity. So next time you shop for groceries, walk past the bone broth aisle. Head to the egg section. Crack a few into your pan, add some spinach, and start building the muscles that will carry you into a strong future. If you found value in this video, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend or a loved one, and leave a comment below about your own journey with strength and aging. Together, we can spread the message that aging doesn't mean weakness. It can mean wisdom, resilience, and life lived fully.